Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show. I know I've been pumping them out last couple of days. I normally put them out every other day. I think after today I'll go back to the old routine unless something major again comes up. But there's been so much crap happening. It's one thing after another, and more exposure is coming out on the facts of this whole thing. And I've come to a conclusion. I was out today. I had to go get supplies. I don't like going out that much. I really have a hard time dealing with dumb. I really do. I got to tell you, I'm always in a fight mode when I walk out the door. You know, I'm ready for battle. I just have that mindset. I don't start anything, but if something comes my way, I'm not backing down either. Anyway, I went out and I went to do my my usual, and I had no problems. I went in, I brought in my forms, walked in, no problem. Nobody even bothered. Nobody even was looking for anything. And then it dawned on me. It really dawned on me that everybody is so afraid to do the right thing that the fear has basically locked everybody down. With all the evidence that's been presented out there, okay, the devil is the father of all lies. The Bible says this. He's the father of all lies, and he was nothing but a liar. And this lie from the devil, demonic lies, satanic lies, Luciferian lies, New Age lies, universal lies, all these lies from the same source. People are believing a lie more than the truth. And you know what's interesting? Everybody thinks that they can't do anything. This is what blows me away the most. All everybody has to do is take the mask off, throw it down on the ground, piss on it, take it to City Hall, throw it down there, stockpile the mask as high as you can go, and let them see where we're all at. Because what's happened and what is going on is the complicity of this situation has become extremely detrimental to anybody's autonomy. And our civil liberties are at stake here. We are surrendering to a frickin' lie. It's just astounding to me. We've all been trying to live by the truth, do the right thing, and so forth, and be tolerant and everything else. And yet here we are, living a lie. And when something comes along that is a bit unusual or different, that's a good word, different. Because, we're all afraid of something different. Have a colored fellow come into a non-colored neighborhood or light-skinned colored neighborhood, everybody's freaking out. Oh my gosh, what the world's coming to an end. Oh, we got, that kind of bullshit. If you got somebody who's light-skinned moving into a dark-skinned neighborhood, oh my gosh, what's going on? The world's coming to an end. Oh. This is all it takes. This is a child mentality everybody has. It's just like I said, I can't get over this. And I noticed while I was shopping today, I noticed a lot of people were in the store shopping and they had the mask down. They covered their mouth, but the nose was out. They can't breathe. And I'm noticing that more. I saw the guy that was running the till today, he was sweating buckets. He couldn't breathe. And I'm thinking to myself, well, for crying out loud, if you can't breathe, take the bloody thing off. Take the bloody thing off. Hell, you could have asked me. I could give him an exemption form. Here, while you're at work, carry this with you. Everybody needs to take these effing masks and throw them down. There is no virus. Zero. I had somebody from the UK send me a video. Dr. Buttar. He's saying the same thing I've been saying. He's been saying the same thing that other doctors have been saying. I said many months ago at the very beginning that this thing's nothing but a fraud. It's nothing but an effery, a fakery. He's saying the same thing. He's also saying the same thing, that the numbers are all fraud. How many of you actually seen the numbers and actually seen the death certificate of these people that have supposedly died of COVID? How many of you actually seen those? And yet you base your premise on a fiction. You haven't seen the numbers. You're assuming what you're being told is true without validation or verification. And then you're complying to a hoax. And it dawned on me, I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching a movie director. I think they took his video down. Someone just contacted me. I went to check it up, and I didn't see his video, but I didn't click on the link. He went on there for about an hour, talking about the whole pedophile shit that's going on this planet. I mean, it is nothing but pure shit. And us being creatures of comforts do not realize that the pedophile activity going on in the world is giving you those creatures of comforts. These corporations have moved over to Asia where they can get away with murder, literally. They can work some young child 12, 15, 19 hours a day, and if the child dies, they'll bring a new one in. They don't care. And if the child happens to be attractive or has some sort of pheromone content to them, they're raped, molested, and then destroyed. I was reading, he was mentioning something about China and how the Chinese were taking Muslims. Hey, I know a lot of people have this thing about Muslims. I don't. I've never had a problem with people who believe in Islam. The only problem they really have are people that choose to make problems for them. They will defend themselves. And they also have an issue with people of Israel, which is, that's common. I mean, they're related. It's all in the family. They like fighting with each other, and they're not happy unless they're fighting with each other. That's just the way that is. It's a natural thing. Somebody's going to write me and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" I worked with people, friends of mine who are Islamic. Well, I shouldn't say Islamic, from the Middle East, who happen to believe in Islam. We got along great. We got along great. I spoke a Semitic tongue. They spoke their Semitic tongue. They had a bit of an accent. They said I had one, and that's okay. And we communicated. And I learned a lot from being around these people. And you know what? They're no different than anybody else. If you cut them, they'll bleed. They put their shoes on one leg at a time. They put their pants on one leg at a time. And what they want is the same thing everybody else wants. They want to have a good meal, a family life, a good buzz, and an income to be able to afford it. That's all they really want. They're not looking for problems. Most of the time, they're not looking for problems. Generally speaking, the ones that are looking for problems are usually agents of the CIA or some other bullshit. But it's just like everybody hates the Jews. Oh, those Jews, them Jews. Nothing to do with the people of Israel. It's nothing to do with people that are Israeli or Israelites or Hebrews. It has to do with the Zionists, which are not of the Jewish persuasion. Some Hebrews may be affiliated with the Zionists, but they are not Hebrew or Israeli. So there's a difference when you talk about a Jew and then you talk about a Hebrew or an Israelite or an Israeli. There's a big difference, huge difference. See, the Israelites and the Hebrews and the Israelis are just like Americans, dumb as a bag of rocks. They have no idea that the Zionist movement that's involved in Israel is going to destroy Israel. They have no clue of this. They've actually been made to believe that they are under the wing of the protection of the Zionists. This is what they got them believing. It's no different than people believe that Trump is going to save America. I don't know how that thinking how that even surfaced. We all know. I don't care if they're in the Middle East. I don't care if they're in the Far East. I don't care if they're in the Near East. I don't care if they're in Central Africa, Southern Africa, Northern Africa, Eastern or Western Europe, South America, Central America, United States, Canada. Governments are decided by corporations and banks. They follow the script. They will do whatever needs to be done. They will say whatever that needs to be said because their agenda is to make sure you're dead. And if they can pacify you, seduce you, or get you to relax your guard, you're done. And I've often said many a time, nothing just stupid is meant to live. Again, going back to even the biblical reference, my people perish for lack of wisdom. My people perish for lack of knowledge. If you're stupid, you're going to die. Period. And even if you're not stupid, you're going to die one day. God will decide when He clocks your time clock and punches your card, that day you're done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And a lot of people today are afraid of dying. It's an inevitability. It's an inevitability. Bible says flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. Because flesh and blood has been corrupted by demonic influences. As long as we've been alive, we've had some sort of satanic, Luciferian, demonic shit affiliated to our bodies. Our genetic codes have been altered. Our DNA has been altered. Our chromosome codes have been altered. We've been vaccinated with God knows what. And now we're coming up with the COVID. The COVID boogeyman that doesn't exist is coming to take you away. Ha ha. And I thought about this more and more, about this whole COVID. Like I said, it's covering up the pedophile activity. You know this for a while. The pedophile activity across the board was getting all the attention. Epstein got arrested, then they said he died twice, and he's not dead. He's dead. See, guys like Epstein and Gates. Gates is a pedophile. I mean, him and Epstein were chums. Okay, and this is the thing, the kicker that gets me here. People actually believe Bill Gates, and they believe his bullshit. It astounds me, really. He brings on his little, whatever that is, his wife or boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm not sure what it is, you know. Can't really tell. I'm one of those guys that, I'm old school. You know, when I grew up, old school meant that a woman had high beams, a tight bum, and a flower with a little fur on it. That was a woman. We didn't have to worry about it. Did it change its sex? Did it change this? Did it change that? No, it was that anatomically that was a woman. Same thing with a guy. Guy, you know, he had his physique, he had his muscles, he had his willy, he had a little patch there, and that was a man. This is how men and women were identified, pretty much. Today, with the sex changes and the transgenic and the transgender and all the other genetically engineered horseshit going on, we don't know today who you're dealing with, who you're talking to, and if you're still into doing fornication and or adultery, you don't even know who you're boinking. You have no idea what you're boinking. It could be a shapeshifter. See, you read Greek mythology, and you know that Zeus, Apollo, and Mars, or Ares, used to shapeshift. Come down to the planet, boink whoever. Their women's husbands were off to war. All of a sudden, their husbands would appear at their door. They'd get laid. All of a sudden, the seed was entered into the species. It would gestate. It would then produce. And now we had a mutation of a shapeshifter and a person. And that mutation had enhanced abilities, but because it had those enhanced abilities, the DNA and the chromosomes and the genetic code would extinguish itself very quickly. It couldn't, the conduit that the DNA was and the RNA was, could not handle the elements that were put in there with it. It wasn't built, it wasn't structurally sound. So, when you're looking at those stories about them coming down as shapeshifters, you know what? Nothing has changed. The Bible even tells you there's nothing new under the sun. All this shit is being repeated time and time and time again. And we're just too bloody stupid to look at this stuff the way we should be looking, because we're too busy being religious or going into religiosity of whatever concept you believe, whether you believe in some universal consciousness, some celestial order, or whatever the hell is you're believing in, you know, aliens, and you're raising frequencies, and you're going to church and listening to some minister or some imam or some high priest, you know, singing and chanting all day long. None of this shit means a hill of beans. All it is a design distraction, taking you away from the perspective you should be having on the living God. The rest of it is just bullshit. All of it. All of it. There's not a religion on this planet that has any actual substance to it. Zero. You got people believing they're going to come back as a butterfly or as a worm or as some other. This is insanity. Just looking at a butterfly tells you that it's a state of evolution that we're going to, not coming back, but going forward. As I stated earlier, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. Even a lot of my friends who have different beliefs and ideologies than I do, I never believed in reincarnation. I thought that was all bullshit from day one. And the Bible says it's appointed for man to die once and then comes judgment. That's it. You ain't coming back. Okay, you're going to be judged and then you're going to move on one way or another. And they also expressed in the perspective they had that that was a deception as well, and it was a trap to keep us down here in the lower frequencies so that these demons could have their way with us. See, it's all part and part saying the same thing. It's all bullshit. But this is what they got everybody looking at, instead of looking at some of those old stories and myths and maybe realize perhaps there's some element of truth there. If we change the terminology, instead of using the term gods, how about we use shapeshifters? You know, how about we use demonics that can shift and take a human form or form of men and women, you know? And how about they are able to come down here in disguise to allow themselves or to perpetuate their defiling of mankind? Okay, see, these things that we're reading, that they didn't cover them up correctly. They tried to hide the past and the real history that we've all had gone through. Not us per se, but our ancestors. That as a result, we are here because of what, as a propagation of our ancestors that brought us to where we're at today. But the only difference is today we're still in the same conundrum. It's just now it's a little bit more sophisticated. The illusions and the lies are more effective because people have forgot reality. When you're looking at The Mask, see, we have seen movies of the zombie apocalypse. Haven't we seen the movie The Zombie Apocalypse? Haven't we seen that? We got these people walking around and go, ooh, and they're trying to destroy something that has real life to them because they're trying to get that back, and they're grumbling and they're growling and they're making these obscene noises, and their bodies look like they've been shredded and tattered, and they look like they're rotting while they're alive. Let me explain something to you. I'm going to give you a perspective. Maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't, I do not know. But let's take The Mask, shall we? And now we got you recycling carbon. We got you putting alcohol solvents on your skin, which now bypass the blood-brain barrier, bypass the liver, and now we have brain cell damage as a result of these hand sanitizers. I saw a woman today at the market. She had latex gloves on, and she was saturating the sanitizers on her latex. She literally wore a hole in the latex. This stupidity is beyond measure. Beyond measure. Not only does she now have the solvent, she now has the latex also inside of her body, which will now cause cancer in some organ, some orifice, somewhere, someplace, somehow. I said this before, most of you in 2 years will have cancer. Guaranteed. Brain cancers, eye cancers, sinus cancers, facial cancers, tongue cancers, gum cancers, mouth cancers, thyroid cancers, throat cancers, bronchial cancers, lung cancers, esophageal cancers, stomach cancers. I think I got them all. Lymphatic cancers. Because you're too frickin' stupid to do your own reading, and you deserve what you're going to get. You are going to get the ass whooping of a lifetime because you are so busy being afraid of a boogeyman that doesn't exist, and you are willing to listen to a media construct designed to put fear inside of you instead of you taking the time to read and interpret what you're reading. Solvents destroy brain cells. Carbon dioxide, if you keep on recycling your own carbon, it will increase the fear factor by 30 to 40% in anybody. Now we got brain damage from the carbon dioxide, and you got this fear and this paranoia and this xenophobia going through your head, and so now you're constantly in a state of fear, 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 and now you got brain damage from the solvents you're being exposed to. Then you've got the nano. The nano you're being hit with nanobiotech. The frequency is a 6G terahertz frequency. Just matter of fact, I even got something today. They came out with a new chip, supposedly. Now you got to remember, when you read a lot of research today, a lot of it is 5 years outdated. In other words, they've already had this out there for at least 5 years, sometimes 10. Terahertz frequency chip, and the data stream is going to be extraordinarily enormous. Guess where that's going? Guess where that's going? That's going to go up into your ass or into your arm. That's where that's going. And when they put that in there, then you're going to see what happened to China start happening in North America. Turn on the 6G and you're all going to drop like a stone. Because that 6G will destroy the mitochondria of the heart, brain, and tissue. And you know what the beautiful thing about that is? It not only doesn't leave a mark, but it also seals itself on its way out. You could, unless you knew what you were looking for, the prognosis will be heart failure, brain failure, or organ failure. That's what the prognosis is going to be. And all because my people perish for lack of knowledge. It's not that there's a lack of knowledge. There's a lack of will to look at the knowledge and act on it. That's what's going on. And the pedophiles, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed at all. I was listening to that Hollywood director, and I'm telling you, I had to do that thing in bits and bytes. I have such a an attitude when I hear this kind of shit. You have no idea. See, if you've been a parent, a real parent, you cannot imagine anybody being that disgustingly vile, that disgustingly demonic, that would destroy a child, rape a child, strip the child of its dignity, take away from it its very life essence and force, and jade that child to a point that it just wants to die or be the most destructive force on the planet to get even for the damage that was done to it. And he was getting in there and he was talking about that. He was talking about how we need to love our children, which is correct. You need to spend time with your children and F that bloody job. It's taking you 10, 15 hours a day. You know, we need to reevaluate our values here. You know, oh, I'm going to make $100,000 a year, but I'm never going to be home. I'll never see my kid grow up. That is ridiculously stupid. You should never have gotten your woolly wet then, or you should never have gotten your flour wet then. I'm just being straight here on this. You should have kept the legs crossed, zipper up. When you bring a life into this planet, that you are now obligated by God to look after that child. That child belongs to him, and you've been given the responsibility to manage that child. So that child will grow up in an upstanding way and honoring God and parents and the system. But when you hear the shit this guy was saying, God almighty, oh, all it did with me when I heard it, it's just, I had some real ungodly thoughts, I got to tell you. And the thoughts of what I would do to these people, it's just, you know, I would definitely send them to the Almighty. You know, let God be the judging. You know, this is what's going on. And while you're busy shitting your pants over something that doesn't exist, this is going on. And we had a little media coverage about, oh, these guys are getting arrested. These guys always saved 99 kids. Where are these kids? Where are these arrests? Where are they? I'll tell you what I see. I don't see jack shit as far as that goes. Nothing. No proof, no evidence, nothing. Just a lot of make-believe hullabaloo. I see Bill Gates running around scot-free, okay, spreading his bullshit about vaccines. He tried to make a vaccine when they were talking about the coronavirus, but trying to make it a little like, oh, you might have a little pain. Might have a little pain. And you might have to repeat the vaccines. Here's a pedophile running free, murdering huge populations on this planet. Africa, India, China, South America, across Europe, across the United States. These vaccines that he has in himself had his companies involved with have done nothing but cause major mutations and debilitation to all these people that otherwise would never have had any abnormality other than the fact that they may have lacked opportunity in wherever they're living. And the vaccines have never worked. Ever. Don't give me that bullshit about polio was cured. Polio wasn't cured. They basically gave us cancer. What a swap. When copper sulfate, copper ascorbate, copper chloride, copper acetate took care of polio. And they knew this back then. We got caught up in the whole concept of science that we made a religion out of science. And that's such bullshit. All science is, and I said this before, is discovery of the truth and how things work, how creation works, how God designed things. That's it. It's nothing more than that. And once we understand these principles of how things work and how God created things and the symmetry in His creation and the efficiency of how things do work, and once we understand it, then we can actually copy what He did. And every time we copy what He did, things work. Now the devil tries to copy what God does, and then he decides to integrate satanic crap, and it never works. And all that ever happens is destruction, death, destruction, sorrow, sadness, debilitation, mutations. And you know what? The scientific community is no different. Is absolutely no different. Science, real science, just means to understand the truth. That's all it really means. Know the truth. There's nothing spectacular, nothing special about it. Having degrees doesn't mean jack shit. It just means you've been programmed for quite some time and paid a lot of money for that programming. So now, when you reach that PhD level, they have you under their complete control. You have absolutely no concept other than to think the way they have taught you to think. You're inside of a box, and that's all you know. We are no longer have the luxury of assuming anything today. We have no longer the idea of thinking that we are not going to be touched. Even the Prime Minister of Canada says Canada is not, is not exempt. Canada's not exempt. So what does that actually mean? Is he going to bring shit here in Canada? Like I said, when you look at the links, you'll see the very last one, more fraud on the fakery of death on COVID. This doctor is saying the exact same thing I said. It does. I had a guy from Texas call me today. So he said, well, what are you doing about this COVID? I said, nothing. What's to do about it? It doesn't exist. And he says, well, are you doing anything at all? I said, Bud, why would I do something? And I said to him, I said, are you Americans this gullible? Because he kept on trying to push this thing, trying to see if by saying something differently that I'm going to come up with a different answer. I said the same thing to him. I said, are you just stupid or just ignorant or just gullible? Why would you treat something that doesn't exist? I said, is the mask on too tight? What's going on here? I mean, seriously. This is what I mean. You hear some of you hear these shows, and it got you so bullied and so frightened of something that doesn't exist. Let me put your minds at ease. And let me repeat this again. It's appointed for a man to die once, and then comes judgment. That's what the Bible says. We are all going to die. Another verse says, ye are like gods, but you shall die like men. We have godlike abilities that God has imbued in all of us if we would just access those abilities, but we don't. We hide them. We hide from them because we were made to be afraid of them. But even there it says you will die like men. We're all going to die one day. Instead of accepting this fairy tale and this fallacy, perhaps, maybe, you might want to take an actual look at the numbers, just the numbers alone. Dr. Buttar was saying that the numbers of deaths have actually declined. Not because of those masks. He even said what I said. He said the same thing I said, that we are already have gotten herd immunity. All of us have been exposed. If this had been a real pandemic or some sort of atrocious pathology, if this really existed, the whole world would have already been exposed. We would have already been able to develop the antibodies to it, and life goes on. You ever remember hearing the terminology, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? That's the way God designed us. When we get hit with something, it knocks us on our ass. But then when we recover, we're now stronger than the element that assaulted us. That's how He designed us. That's science. That's really cool when you sit there and look at that. So when you're looking at what's going on, you know, perhaps if you ain't dead and you're having a hard time breathing and you're having a hard time thinking and you're having a hard time keeping your head clear, then perhaps you need to take the mask off and realize that perhaps that mask is killing you. The CDC, you know, has some things about who shouldn't wear a mask. And one of the things that states that if you're driving, you should not wear a mask. I don't know how many COVIDians I see driving the car, not taking the mask off. This is stupid beyond comparison. If you're recycling carbon, that means you could fall asleep behind the wheel and kill yourself, or worse, somebody else, because of your stupidity. This is something that you better think about if you can still think. Some of you are so far gone, you think wearing that, you can't go anywhere without that mask on. You got to go to the toilet, you got to put the mask on. You might tinkle on your face. Who knows? You know, you might pass wind, and oh man, that part now may have COVID, and you got to wear the mask because it'll go through the mask anyway, and you'll still smell your own shit. But hey, it's protection. You got to wear it to the toilet. This is what I mean. Ridiculousness. Ridiculousness. You know, you can go on now. You can. I'm hoping that if people are sharing these audios, and I'm hoping people are looking at the links and actually taking the time to read them, and then explore those things. You have to understand something. Doing a Google search, and I keep telling everybody, Google is the worst search engine in the world for trying to find out any data. It's a bullshit search engine. It's a great search engine if you want to sell and market things and come up with some marketing bullshit. It's great for that. But real data, real information, real facts, forget it. It is mainstream DARPA. DARPA. You know what DARPA is? And you guys know who DARPA is? You know, part of the military-industrial complex that's been trying to kill you. DARPA? So do you think DARPA is going to give you the information you think you're going to get from Google? Oh, Google. You know, start looking at the main... YouTube just brought down a video I had posted. Said violated some sort of whatever. YouTube can go to hell. Seriously, it can go right to hell. Everybody that's doing videos needs to take their shit off of YouTube and go to BitChute and put everything on BitChute and support BitChute, and we'll see how long YouTube will stay standing. See, we need to understand that as long as we keep supporting these assholes, nothing is going to change, and they are going to continue to rape and molest people with censorship. They're only going to allow you to see what you... I wouldn't be a bit surprised, honest to God, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if YouTube becomes a porn channel. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Facebook does the same thing, becomes a porn channel, a porn network. Wouldn't surprise me. Not at all. And in fact, it's the perfect medium, because everybody who's been watching these YouTube channels and isn't thinking, this would be the easiest way to slay people in this field. Just say, we're just going to have a porn network. For those of you who want to see some raw booty, come on over here. We got the porn on the YouTube channel. If you're looking for some au natural, go to the FB network. We have it here as well. I can see that happening. I can see that happening. See, when you look at NBC, CBC, CBS, and ABC, and they are censoring the freedom of speech so that you can't hear the other side. And again, a lot of you are not thinking. Again, as per usual, just listen to the same bullshit over and over, get that fear factor reinforced in you, so one day you become that zombie, taken over by nanobiotech, have no brain left because of the solvents and the carbon, and you'll walk around growling and grunting like some wild animal, only to be needing to be put down like a rabid dog. That is the lot they have planned for you. You're easier to take over. You're a lot easier to take over. You've got no brain. You're just basically functioning on impulse. And just like other animals that have a bigger adversary and they're a smaller prey, the bigger adversary can swoop down. When the prey can't run, prey won't run. And if the prey thinks it can growl at whatever's coming at it, that's going to stop it. Now it's dead. It's now in the clutches of its claws, and it's being taken to the nest to be consumed. Imagine that. Imagine that. So, you know, we are not living in Kansas anymore. And I think this is another thing as well. Fear has gripped everybody. And I was just talking to God a little while ago. I said, God, how do we get these people off of fear? Because I don't know. You can tell them the truth and they don't listen. They're so afraid of even looking at the truth. I got the signs on my windows about the reality of the mask. And I've had some people read them. Some people have read the whole thing through. And some people take a look at them, and after about 10 seconds they're gone. They walk away. They are not willing to look at that at all because of the implication that if they read it, they'll now have to do something about what they've just learned. And, you know, as I've been emphasizing, with the truth, once you know the truth, either you'll deny it, keep on living a lie, or you'll act on it. We're no longer in this realm and can no longer be in a realm of compromise. If your friends are this petrified, and in order to be their friend, you got to wear a mask or a pair of rubbers, or use a hand sanitizer. Perhaps maybe you need to find some new friends. Perhaps maybe you need to get acquainted with people that are actually looking at things from a reality perspective. Perhaps, because if you're staying with these friends and they're caught up in the fear factors to such a degree, if they walk off a cliff, are you going to walk with them? I mean, if you don't walk with them, you won't be their friend. Is this what you really want? Is this what you are thinking? I've said many a time, you jump in that abyss, I'm just going to stand at the edge and watch you hit the bottom. Boom! And then I'm going to yell out, more for me. More for me. Some of you say, well, how could you be so heartless? Because anybody that stupid deserves what they're getting. That's not heartless, that's reality. We have a species of mankind on this planet. And if everybody follows idiots, there won't be nobody left on the planet. And sometimes doing the right thing may seem like a hardcore, hard-ass thing to do, but sometimes that's how it rolls. And sometimes you pay a consequence for it as well. But if you know where you stand and you know what you got to do, away you go. That's how it works. That's how it works. So there's a lot of things to think about tonight. You know, this pedophile shit hasn't gone away at all. Not even a little bit. Zero. I got a buddy of mine in Romania, and he sent me some information before he went there, and I'm trying to find this document so I can read it to the Muslims who are in these lunatic wars, these insane wars that they are putting over in the Middle East. This is what they're doing to the people of the Middle East, just so you have an idea how retarded this planet is. They'll create a holy war in the Middle East. This side says, we are the true Muslims, and this side says, no, we're the true Muslims, and they will go to war and kill each other. Then what happens when they're all dead and gone? Those few remaining are basically maimed or handicapped or whatever. Those wives whose husbands have died go into an internment camp where they get killed and harvested for their organs. Then their organs are then sent to Turkey to be sold on the black market or into the hospitals. China's doing the same thing. I even read an account of Israel doing the same thing as well. And I don't put it past any country over there to do such a thing because it's big, big, big business. And see, there's a lot of things like that we are not seeing here in North America or in the West. We're like mushrooms over here. We're fed a lot of shit and we're kept in the dark. And we're not seeing the reality. We got this rosy-dozy, posy Walt Disney Network channel running. And they got us believing in cartoons. Meanwhile, in other parts of the planet, life isn't worth a hill of beans while you're alive, but your organs are worth a fortune. So all those wars going on in the Middle East is done to harvest those organs. And then they're sold on the black market, or they're sold to people in the West. It's insane, but this is what's going on. Like I said, I don't have anything against anybody from the Middle East, period, Christian or Muslim. You know, I think the Christians and the Muslims need to sit there and have dialogue with each other and quit this stupidity being pitted against each other for no effing reason. Just so that organs can be harvested and sold. Turkey, China, Israel, and all the rest of those countries over there that are involved in that market. Those are the three that I know of that I got information on. Some of you may be a shock. But again, you can't blame the people of Israel on this. We got child trafficking going on in the United States and Canada. I don't blame every Canadian and American for as being responsible for what's going on. Most Americans and Canadians don't even know this is going on in North America. But this is the reality of this life here. And they're covering all this shit up with this imagined bullshit by a pedophile running around advocating vaccines. This is beyond belief. This is beyond belief. Do your homework. Do the research on Silly Billy pedophile. Go ahead. Look it up. Some of you think he's a hero. Some of you think he's a great philanthropist that's giving money in charity and he's such a good guy. Maybe you should go look at that. Maybe you should go look at all the philanthropists that have been giving money to good causes. You might be surprised that those good causes have to do with either war, drugs, or child trafficking, or organ harvesting. That's the world we live in. That is the reality. This is why I keep calling this place a shithole, because it is a shithole. Imagine this going on in our planet. And we're worried about a frickin' mask. Oh, I'm going to die. Oh, give me a mask. Idiot. COVID-idiot. COVID-idiot. It astounds me. You know, they turned North America into 4-year-old babies. That's what has happened. 4-year-old mentality. You know, and some of you, I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you this as well. You're going to start. Some of you will hear what I said tonight. Get a little pissed off. Say, "Oh, that's effing guy. I'll fix him. I'll go look. I'll take my chance. I'll jump in." When you start your research, and I'm not going to try to discourage you. I'm going to tell you the facts. Okay. Don't be surprised at what you may find, because I'm going to tell you something. If you think you're shitting your pants now, wait till you start reading what's really going on out there. And it's going to continue to go on as long as you're distracted with this hocus pocus hoax. It's a total nightmare we're living in, because everybody is complying to a bunch of... You got Gestapos in the United States, what I'm calling the governors of the U.S. The Gestapos are literally killing their own people in their own states. We got a Gestapo in Alberta. Did you know now, in Alberta, oh, Canada, this is for us Canadians, Canada, that the Alberta Premier and the legislature has now passed laws that you cannot protest for Native issues. You know that? You see that? Native issues. You know, because the natives, I mean, the natives have been screwed royally in this country, big time. Huge. Before they started pedophiling those of European descent, or those of African descent, or those from the Middle East, or those from the Hispanic descent, and those from, you know, the German descent, and those from the French descent, those from the British descent, those from the Yugoslavian descent, those from the Polish descent, those from... You get what I'm saying? Everybody, every country is involved on this crap. You know, before all this was going on to all these other countries, the natives in North America were being harvested. Harvested. And now they can't even protest for their rights. Can you imagine that? Only in Alberta. And I got to tell everybody else in Canada, oh, Canada. Duh, Canada. Alberta is the prototype. They have FUBAR'd Alberta on purpose. One of the wealthiest provinces we've had in the country, gave the most as far as transfer payments, I think, other than Ontario, and maybe that they may have surpassed Ontario, has been broken, busted, bankrupted. And we're watching the deterioration of your freedoms. I mean, your freedoms, your access to your freedoms. They're going to turn that into a major communistic, probably worse than communism, more like a totalitarianism, and they'll hook up with the UN. Alberta will be probably one of the first countries to be you'll have a UN flag flying over it. Don't be surprised to see that in America either. Don't be surprised. You know, don't think if you see it in Alberta. Alberta was probably the closest thing to being in an American state in Canada that you'll ever find, more so than even Ontario. I used to call it the United States of Alberta. And if they can take that type of republic down and turn it inside out and turn it into a totalitarian state, America, keep your eye on Alberta. Canada, keep your eye on Alberta. If they're taking the rights away from the natives, guess what? Guess what other rights they're going to take away from, and guess from who? And then you're going to see Ford, and you'll see all the other premiers in the country all lined up like ducks in a barrel, doing the same shit that he's doing there. Don't be surprised. I mean, after all, we do have an Asian, Tam Tam the Scam, who's calling policy in this country, in Canada. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm really going to refrain from speaking Canadian here with this one, but why is that happening? She is dictating policy in Canada. Who in the bloody hell is this person? Go back home. Pack your shit and go home. Don't come back. Don't call us. We'll call you. Have you guys not noticed this in our country? That we have a foreigner in this country telling us what to do? Oh, they'll probably say, oh, she's Canadian. My ass. You know. Telling us what to do in our country? Really? Really? Like I said, there are some things that have got me a little bit on the irate side. You know, like I said, seeing that pedophile thing yesterday was like, oh, geez. You know, Brian 396, he's really a proponent of ending pedophile activity. He's really on that hard. You know, I've been on other things really hard as far as biotech and AI and other things, because, well, you can't fight everything. And so he's into that, and he's been a main voice in that too. He really, that's his passion next to this nano. I think it's even more his passion, to be honest with you. But this shit seriously should not exist at all. Organ harvesting, you know, don't tell me we're a civilized society. Don't tell me we are, you know, we have advanced and evolved. We haven't gone anywhere. Literally, we've gone FA. Nowhere. Period. All we've done is recycled and circled and gone back to the same circle, doing the same shit that's been done before. Same thing has happened in the past historically. The only difference is we don't remember it because they wiped out the past, but they left some clues. They have left some clues. Go look at some of the mythologies of China and Greece and some of those other places, and we start reading some of the abnormalities of things that were going on with animals and people. That should be ringing a bell of genetic experimentation, exploitation was done then. When I talk about the Old Testament, people always say to me, well, God was a mean God. God was a mean bastard. I say, how come? He said, because he had the Hebrews kill all those people. Okay. So then I point out, well, if you had a kid and you're trying to raise your child and trying to get them to develop, but along the way they had some obstacles, and those obstacles were maybe genetic mutations or hybrids of some kind, demonic hybrids of some kind, and if the people of Israel had integrated with those hybrids, they would have corrupted their genetic code. So what would you have had them do? And as they were walking through the desert, which would have these hybrids track them from behind to take them out in an assault. So maybe God wasn't a mean bastard after all. Maybe God was watching out over his kids to make sure that they were protected. And maybe he was protecting them from some of the genetic experiments that were going on in those little villages and towns that had already been invaded by the same shit that's invading us. See, there's a lot that went on back then, and we're only seeing the religiosity of what these churches are teaching us. Okay, and you got those TV witches that Sherry calls on the television, and they're pumping out more bullshit than you can shake a stick at. You know, and we're not looking at, well, why did God, wipe these people up? Because perhaps they weren't people. Perhaps they may have been an inbreeding of shapeshifters that have maybe gotten into them. Or maybe they had become so inbred that they had become completely incorrigible. Had nothing to do with this or that. Maybe it was because of what they were and what they had become. And they had to be wiped out in order to preserve the genetic code of the Hebrew people. So, I mean, there's an account with Samuel. King Saul was told to go wipe out a village and even the livestock, leave nothing left, because they had become so genetically violated that even eating the livestock would have caused the people of Israel problems. Well, Saul wiped out the village, but he kept the sheep. And there are some accounts way back in the day that, the old saying of boinking a sheep. Well, that's what they were doing. And the sheep may have been genetically engineered. Chances are that's what all that was all about way back in those times. Why did he save Noah and his family? Because that was the only genetic code that was still intact. Everything else had been corrupted. That's how I see it anyway. Based on how I'm reading that, I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute here. Why just these people? Because they were the only ones left that had their code intact. So, we need to look at these things a little bit more closely and understand some of the things and why some of the things were written the way they were. Like I said, I don't believe in any of these places that you can, if you want to go to church by all means. If you want to go someplace and meet other believers and pray, hey, by all means do so. I don't care what in that regard. But when they preach some of the stuff they're preaching, you may want to take a look at it and look at what went on in those days and look what's going on in today and make that comparison. You may see that there's a lot of similarity between then and today. And you could do this with other literature. As I pointed out with the Greek mythos. I don't think they were mythos, quite frankly. I think this was an oversight. They didn't maybe they couldn't cover up because the cover up was too big. But when you actually look at what went on, a minotaur, man's body with a head of a bull, centaur, body of a horse, torso of a man, Pan, half man, half goat, mermaid, half fish, half woman, Pegasus, a half horse, half bird, flying dragons that could breathe fire, coming out of China. Where did that come from? Like I said, when you start looking at that a little closer, you might think, maybe they were already doing genetic engineering experiments way back in the day. I don't think we discovered anything in the last 50 years. I think all we've done is been recycled. The information was stored somewhere and they just started using it again. I mean, seriously, we're genetically engineering corn to grow plastics so that the car manufacturers can have a polymer material grown in the field. What's that doing to the earth? What is that doing to the earth? And then you've got, genetically modified corn where you splice a seed, put a golden nano program inside the seed, and then when the seed enzymes become active, it activates the program, and now you have a transgenic seed, or we can do CRISPR, where you can now go into the genetic code of the plant and start cutting out different strains of the DNA or incorporating new DNA. What the hell are we growing? Now, what is that doing to the earth? What is that doing to the planet? So we're not looking at the repercussions there, are we? When they're spraying all these nanoparticles and they're dropping, pneumonia on us and they're dropping other, respiratory issues on us with those frickin' chemtrails, what happens to those nanoparticles when they embed themselves with the bacteria in the soil? What happens when those nanoparticles embed themselves with the cellular matrix of a plant and going into the DNA? What is that doing? Everyone keeps telling me they're eating organic, so you're growing yourself in the house or under a canopy. And they say, no. So where are you getting your organic from? Oh, the grocery store. Really? It's orgasmically organic. Ooh. That was the fruit and vegetable having an orgasm. Ooh. Jeez. Like I said, pay attention. COVID is bullshit. It's not good. It's not good. You know what? Now, Tam the scam. Okay, Canadians, this is what I'm saying. This so-called representative is now dictating policy in Canada. We're going to be wearing masks for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't think so. I think we need to wrap her up in a mask and send her back to the UN. That's what I think. That's my thought on it anyway. Go home. Go home. Wherever the hell you come from, go home. That's your home. If Mars is your home, go back. Just leave here. The concepts that we have going on today, like I said, fear has got everybody's heart gripped. I don't know how to help you set free of this. Maybe it's because of what I believe that keeps me in the state I'm in. Maybe believing in God is what does it. Because if God, I've often said this many a time, if God is not the center of the equation, you've got no equation. And if God is not in the center of this COVID, then COVID is bullshit. Period. Bill Gates is talking about, oh, wait till the next wave. The next wave is coming. This pedophile does not give a rat's ass about you. He doesn't give a shit about anybody. He's a eugenist. They're going to bring on that second wave anyway, because what's going to happen, your immune systems are going to be so compromised, they can just drop a common cold down here on the earth and you will all drop dead. And now with the 6G terahertz frequencies that they can, this chip they've got, wait till they get the vaccine. And like I said, I'm hoping when they bring the vaccine, they go out to Leamington and Kingsville and Chatham with those kooks out there. They can be the first ones to get the shot. See, about 30 or 40% of them just drop dead. Oh, I see. The vaccine worked well. Yeah, 40% death rate. Pretty good. That was the target. It fixed the COVID. Yes, it did. I don't wish ill on anybody. I mean, but seriously, when I hear this whiny baby bullshit that these people are spewing out there, I mean, really, maybe perhaps you need a sobriety wake-up call. Maybe you need to sober up with something that will sober you up to the real reality of what's going on today. Everybody's worried about a fakery. That almost slipped out. Try saying that twice and not make a mistake. Fakery. You know. And the pedophile shit is still running amok on the planet. Still running amok on the planet. There's a lot of other shit going on the planet. CERN's opened up the gates of hell. Now we got demons coming and going through the portals. You know, there's about 12 different, I think there's 12 or 24 other CERNs across the planet. These are doorways of an invasion. These are doorways of an invasion. That'll give you something. That should give you something to think about. I'll leave you on that note. You can do your own homework on that one too, and come up with your own conclusions. I'm always telling you that you've got people on my show. I always put their links on there. I got Brian 396. I got Sherry 3 Hearts Church. I got Yanni. I got Shai. I got myself. Sometimes I bring in other people as well. Check out their sites. Look at the research. Share the research. If you can donate, please do so. You know, these things take a lot of time and work and effort. And hopefully we're making a difference. I do see a lot of people emailing me. And I do see the other side of this, so I should probably emphasize that too. I do see people waking up. And I hear them using the Canadian language as well. And they're not Canadian, so... That F-bomb really expands the meaning of what's going on. Those, yeah, I know that. I know the language. I get it. You know, speaking to the choir. Share the information any way you can. I always say this too, for all of you. You know, if you've never read the Bible, go read the Gospels. Don't read the Old Testament. You ain't ready for the Old Testament because you'll see a lot of things there and you're just not going to be able to handle it. Go read what Jesus had to say. After all, he's the one that died on the cross and came back from the dead. Okay, so in my humblest opinion, then we might want to read what he had to say. That's a pretty impressive feat, don't you think? Imagine the King of Kings leaves his throne to come down here to save our sorry asses, and here we are, walking after Baal, walking after Moloch. I mean, really? He made a whip when he was down here because he had people in the temple selling shit in the temple. And I know he ripped somebody a new ass. Imagine following Moloch and Baal. Woohoo! That's going to be a rip-roaring ass ripper there. Read the Gospels. Read what he has to say. You know, I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to get you to open your head and see what's going on. Read what he, like I said, he'll offer hope and inspiration. You may not believe. You still may not believe. That's fine. But you owe it to yourself to read the Gospels. Okay, I always leave the show with this thought as well. We are still here by the grace of God. We are still here. So until the next segment, to your health. Take care.